Edward VII was born on November 9, 1841, in Buckingham Palace, London. He was the eldest son of Queen Victoria and her husband, Prince Albert of Saxe-Coburg and Gotha. Edward was christened Albert Edward, but was known by his family and friends as Bertie. Edward's childhood was spent in the royal residences of Windsor Castle, Buckingham Palace, and Osborne House on the Isle of Wight. Despite being the heir to the throne, he had a difficult relationship with his parents, particularly his mother, who was known for her strict parenting style. As a young man, Edward attended several schools and was educated by a series of private tutors. He attended Trinity College, Cambridge, studying history. Edward had wanted to pursue a career in the British Army, but his mother vetoed an active military career. In 1863, Edward married Princess Alexandra of Denmark, at St. George's Chapel, Windsor Castle, with whom he had 6 children: Albert Victor, George, later King George V, Louise, Victoria, Maud, and Alexander. Edward was 21 and his wife was 18. Edward had mistresses throughout his married life, notably Lily Langtry, although around 55 liaisons are speculated to have occurred. He certainly earned his name as a playboy. One of his mistresses was Alice Keppel, whose great-granddaughter is Camilla Parker Bowles, who was the mistress and subsequent wife of King Charles III. Edward never acknowledged any illegitimate children, and his wife Alexandra was aware of his affairs and seemed to accept them. Edward was known for his love of gambling, horse racing, and other social activities. He was a regular at the racetrack, and owned several successful racehorses. Despite his reputation as a playboy, Edward was also an advocate for the arts and supported many cultural institutions. He was particularly fond of opera, and was a patron of the Royal Opera House in London. He also helped found the Royal College of Music. Edward's mother, Queen Victoria, was a very protective parent, and he did not have much political power during her reign. He was often overshadowed by his more serious-minded and responsible siblings. However, when he became king in 1901, Edward quickly established himself as a popular and influential figure. He was well liked by the British people, and his relaxed and informal manner made him a hit with foreign dignitaries and heads of state. Edward became king in 1901 after his mother Queen Victoria died. His coronation was on the 9th of August 1902, at Westminster Abbey. He was 59 when he became king. During his reign, Edward oversaw the development of the British Empire and strengthened ties with other nations. He made several trips abroad, including visits to India, Canada, and South Africa, and helped to promote British interests around the world. Edward was related to nearly every other European monarch, and he became known as the Uncle of Europe. He loved his grandchildren and doted on them. However, he did not get along with his German nephew, German Emperor Wilhelm II. His difficult relationship with his nephew did nothing to help the tensions between Germany and Britain. Edward was afraid that Wilhelm II would tip Europe into war. 4 years after Edward's death, the First World War broke out. Edward was known for his charm and diplomacy, and helped to resolve several international conflicts. He played a key role in mediating the Algeciras Conference in 1906, which prevented a war between France and Germany over their respective spheres of influence in Morocco. Edward was also a patron of the arts, and supported the development of modernism in Britain. He was a keen collector of art, and amassed a large collection of paintings and sculptures. In addition to his love of art, Edward was also known for his love of food and drink. He was particularly fond of French cuisine, and enjoyed hosting elaborate dinner parties and banquets. Edward introduced the practice of eating roast beef and potatoes with Yorkshire puddings on Sundays, a meal that has become a staple for British Sunday lunch ever since. However, Edward suffered from poor health for much of his life, and was often advised to moderate his eating and drinking habits. He had a fondness for cigars and cigarettes, which likely contributed to his respiratory problems. Edward was the first British monarch to visit Russia, and played a key role in promoting good relations between the two nations. He was also a frequent visitor to France and Germany, and was well received by the people of both countries. Edward's reign was marked by social change, including the rise of the labor movement and the women's suffrage movement. He was often criticized for his conservative views and opposition to social reform. However, Edward was also seen as a modernizer, and helped to introduce several reforms, including the Trade Disputes Act of 1906, which gave unions greater legal protection, and the Education Act of 1902, which established the basis for the modern education system in Britain. Edward's reign also saw the introduction of the Old Age Pensions Act of 1908, which provided a pension for people over the age of 70 who were unable to work. This was an important social reform that helped to alleviate poverty among the elderly. Edward's health began to decline in 1907, and he suffered from heart problems in the following years. He died on May 6, 1910, at the age of 68. He had a series of heart attacks and was put to bed. He died 15 minutes later. He was buried at St. George's Chapel, Windsor Castle on the 20th of May 1910. Just before he died, the Prince of Wales told him that his horse had won at Kempton Park. The king replied, "I am very glad." These were Edward's final words. He was succeeded by his son, George V. Edward's reign was remembered as a time of great change and progress, and he was seen as a popular and charismatic monarch who helped to usher in a new era in British history.